season. Today is the day where at least we know we don't have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, and that means that the season begins with the Bears hosting the Packers on Thursday, September 5th. They're also in the NFL celebrating its 100th season. So Dominique and Dan are here to give reckless speculation, reckless predictions, and I really can't emphasize the word reckless anymore. So just go ahead and understand that this is going to be crazy, and take some deep breaths, but also send them mean tweets or nice tweets if you want to. We'll start with Dominique, and we need to begin with the Patriots because you have something crazy to say about the Patriots.
I'm going to get reckless.
Woo! Goodness.
Patriots will not win the Super Bowl this year.
Whoa, calm down over there.
No, that is absurd. It's blasphemous against the history of the league so far. However, they are losing Gronk. If you think about in their big games last year, against the Chiefs when they needed big plays, against the Rams when they needed big plays, they went to Gronk. I know he wasn't the player that they wanted to be all year round, but when they needed something, they went to him. And these other teams in AFC are contenders. We got the Chiefs, obviously, and the Browns. I love the Browns. I think they're America's sweetheart. They're a popular kind of in vogue pick for a Super Bowl run. And if they could put it all together, I think they could be a problem for the Patriots. And Tom Brady, he has to get old eventually, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Tom Brady's not getting old.
That's fair.
He's defying time.
You were the one who said he wasn't human earlier on this show, not to make references to things that we've already said. But anyway, let's continue with the reckless speculation because, Dan, you have one about Derek Carr, the Raiders quarterback.
Derek Carr gives John Gruden his worst nightmare and becomes a top 10 quarterback again.
Uh-oh.
He goes back to 2015, back to 2016, was an MVP caliber player because some of those additions that they brought on. The fact that this quarterback is plenty good enough when he has weapons around him. He's got one of the great receivers in the NFL now in Antonio Brown. He's going to be able to push the ball downfield. They've added Tyrell Williams, a big receiver who's, again, going to allow Derek Carr to push the ball downfield. Josh Jacobs out of Alabama is going to be a huge addition. I look for this offensive line to be a good player. They're going to run the football and then take some shots downfield. Derek Carr is going to be a top 10 quarterback again, and John Gruden's going to be like, oh, man, what do I do with the quarterback that I don't really love?
That's the interesting part about your reckless speculation about Derek Carr, because maybe that's not exactly what John Gruden wants, but we'll see how that goes. Dan, we're going to get, Nick, you have another one, but we're going to get back to you right here. You have a reckless speculation about the AFC title game and who might be playing in it.
Well, I know there was some news that the draft was going to Cleveland, but get ready for the AFC title game to be outside in Cleveland.
Whoa.
The Browns are going to play in the AFC Championship game, and they are going to play against the Colts. I'm all in on the Browns. I've been all in for a long time. Said it during the season last year. They were going to be a Super Bowl contender this season. Everyone knows about all their additions that they've made all off-season and all the talent that they've brought in. I expect that talent to gel, to bind together. Freddie Kitchens to be a fearless coach for this team to go to the AFC title game and to face the Colts. A little bit of a reckless, I don't think it's that outrageous, though. These two teams are both two of the more complete teams in the NFL, both offensively and defensively. Really good coaching staffs. I look forward to an outside AFC title game.
Which one's going to beat the Patriots?
Well, I don't know. You told me they were going to.
I know. I just want to know. You get on this boat with me. We can go down together.
I actually have the Browns losing to the Patriots, so let's say the Colts.
Okay, the recklessness continues. And let's go to Dominique here, because earlier you said that Aaron Donald would be your MVP. What about the Rams?
I can't wait to get into this one.
He will be my MVP.
Do the Rams make the playoffs?
I love Aaron Donald. He'll still be the MVP, but the Rams are going to miss the playoffs because of mostly what's happening on the other side of the ball. Now, the defense wasn't great last year, and they've lost a guy like Sue, and the corners were not stellar, and I don't think that they're getting any younger. But the offensive side of the ball is where I'm more concerned. They're missing two inside offensive linemen, which is really going to hurt Goff. And they also have Gurley coming off this injury, possibly. We don't really know what's going on with Gurley. We can't expect him to be as good as he was last year. And the rest of the league is kind of figuring them out to some degree. And they have a division that's pretty tough. I think San Francisco is going to get better. Seahawks are always good.
Let me eat this one up real quick. Right. So the rest of the league is not necessarily figuring them out. Bill Belichick did one. Two,
so their offense went down towards the end of the season.
We have the MVP of the league,
Aaron Donald,
a guy who was an MVP candidate 2 years ago, and Todd Gurley on the team. And they're going to miss the playoffs after they've won 24 games in 2 years?
So Todd Gurley is not the same Todd Gurley. We can't argue that.
Don't we think he'll get healthier, though? Like, don't you think he's on his way to getting healthier?
You know what position he plays? He's a running back. That's not something that tends to happen. You don't have late career resurgences as a running back.
The addition of Weddle and Clay Matthews are going to not help that defense play better? You're saying out of the playoffs.
I'm not sure that the guys. I think Weddle was fantastic when Weddle was young.
Do you think the Cardinals are going to win that division? division?
Hell no. The Cardinals are going to win the division.
Did that convince them?
I could see
was
the
about
Seahawks.
to be on
I
your-
could see the Seahawks winning the division.
Without Doug Baldwin and without Frank Clark.
With a guy named Russell. Have you ever seen him play?
Rams are going to make the
pretty good.
playoffs.
Russell is what you want Kyler Murray to be. He's already there and surpassed it.
This has now gotten too reckless, so we're going to continue on with other things. And sad news, Greeny, out of Major League Baseball yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday with Bill Buckner dying at the age of 69 after a battle with dementia. He played 22 seasons in the big leagues for 5 different teams, won a batting title in 1980 with the Cubs. He had over 2,700 hits in his career. And we wanted to show you all of those and all of this video and talk about all of that before we talked about the error that he committed in Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, the moment for which he is, of course, best remembered or most remembered, and the one that we saw absolutely everywhere yesterday for a man whose career in life deserved to be remembered for a good deal more than that. Here's an example of why. In the 1970s and 80s, only Pete Rose had more hits than Bill Buckner did, and yet, of course, when he dies yesterday, and certainly sad news, that play, that legendary play in the 1986 World Series is shown everywhere, and I understand it. I've been in the media long enough to understand what happens, and that is certainly the most famous moment of his playing career, and it's something that I've said for many years on my old show and now on this one, is that the courage it takes to play sports is the courage to run the risk of always being remembered for your worst moment. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in the case of Bill Buckner, who was a terrific player. And Tibbs, I'm going to give you the floor on this first because you were a big Red Sox fan, and I know you were a big fan of Bill Buckner.
Yeah, and I was brokenhearted on that play, but I used to love to watch him hit. He was masterful, and from all accounts, a great teammate, a great person, and I was glad in the end that he was recognized by all the Boston fans. Boston's a great sports town, and I think they appreciated all that he brought to that franchise throughout his career.
Now, Jalen, what do you make of this as one who played all of those years and obviously had highs and lows, and for a player to be involved in a play that famous and for that to be, to some degree, his epitaph after a long and successful career?
This is a perfect example for us to be careful. While he was a terrific baseball player and you saw the number of hits he had, he's a human being first. And to mention his worst moment as his leading introduction to when you talk about his death, that's totally rude. It's foul. It's disrespectful. Now, you can mention it as a part of his legacy, but it should not be the thing that's discussed first.
I agree with that, actually, and that was why we made certain here, and a great job by our staff, that this was not the first piece of video that we showed when we remembered Bill Buckner today. It is a part of the story. It is not possible to separate the conversation about Bill Buckner's career from that play. It's the most famous play in which he was ever involved. It is worth pointing out that the Red Sox had already blown their entire lead in that game. The score was tied when that ball went through his legs, allowing the winning run to score in Game 6. It was not like that opened up the floodgates to this big comeback. But look, it's an incredibly famous play, and no one is suggesting it shouldn't be remembered and it shouldn't be a part of the story. But it certainly made me sad, and I have to try and put myself in the position of being someone, a member of his family or whatever it is, and waking up and seeing the front page of the newspaper today, that play. A member of your family, your father or your husband or someone else has just died, and the very first thing that is staring you in the face was the worst moment, at least of his professional life.
Greeny, I'm glad you're honoring him this way. 95% of his career was great. We're talking about a borderline Hall of Fame player here. So this is a great way to honor him, not only as a player, but as a person. And Jalen, those are great points you made as well. But I love the way the guy hit, and it was an honor to watch him play.
Yeah, he is considered by many. Today is not a day to litigate how great of a player he was either. This is about much more than that. But I've heard people say, who know a lot more about this than I do, that he might be one of the 2 or 3 best players ever not to be in the Hall of Fame. He's that level of terrific player. This is not a guy whose only moment was this one. In fact, he was on the field because the manager wanted him to be out there to celebrate the championship of a World Series because he deserved to be a part of that moment. So, listen, there are so many things about this that are sad, and first and foremost, that a man at merely the age of 69 has died. But when I saw the front page of the newspaper this morning had a picture of that ball going through his legs, my first thought was, I don't know exactly what my worst moment in life was, but I certainly hope that's not what everyone points out whenever it is that I leave the earth.
Well, first off, that's rude and it's disrespectful. And here's why. Because as an athlete or as a coach, you get a chance to live out your life and your dream for public consumption. As a normal civilian, you don't get to do that. However, when you die, that's not the moment to be trolling. That's not the moment to be talking about all of the things negative about the person because they're not here anymore. That's why it's called being laid to rest. And I think we should allow him to, and his family to have that as well at this moment.
Rest in peace, Bill Buckner. Yours was a great career, one that was a lot more than just one ground ball that went through your legs.